This one time in Miami, Blanche's daughter, Rebecca, came to visit and announced she wanted to have a baby through artificial insemination. Well, Blanche nearly fainted right into the living room planter because she thought it was scandalous. She likes her men the traditional way, preferably with a southern accent and a driving license. It reminded me of the time back in St. Olaf when Inga Svensson wanted to raise a prize-winning pig all by herself without a husband. And the town council had a 3-day debate about it. In the end, Blanche realized that a baby is a blessing no matter how it gets here. And she promised to be the most glamorous grandmother Miami had ever seen. This one time in Miami, we decided to cater a huge fancy charity banquet all by ourselves to save money. And the kitchen looked like a tornado had hit a bakery. We were supposed to make hundreds of little appetizers, but we got into such a terrible fight over the recipe that Sophia ended up locking us all in the garage. It was just like the great rutabaga lock in a 51, only we didn't have any blankets and nobody was singing folk songs to stay warm. By the time we finally picked the lock with one of Blanche's old hairpins, the guests were starving, but we managed to serve them a meal they'd never forget. Mostly because Dorothy threatened to throw anyone out who didn't eat their spinach puffs. This one time in Miami, a famous movie star named Burt Reynolds came to town to film a movie, and Blanche, Dorothy, and I all competed to be his date to a big Hollywood party. We even got arrested at a shady hotel because the police thought we were working girls, which was silly because I don't even know how to fix a carburetor. Dorothy looked so miserable in that jail cell, like a wet owl in a bird cage. But everything turned out wonderful because Burt Reynolds himself came to bail us out, and he even pointed at me and said I was the cute one. It was just like the time the governor of Minnesota visited St. Olaf and shook hands with my prize-winning pig, Lily. This one time in Miami, Blanche and I both fell for the same handsome man at the community center. We became more competitive than two badgers fighting over a drop sandwich. We tried to outdo each other with fancy outfits and perfumes, and Blanche even used a special southern potion that smelled like cooked molasses in desperation. It got so bad that we almost ruined our friendship, which reminded me of the Great Left's War between the Olsons and the Hansons. Thankfully, we realized that no man, not even one who can do the tango without throwing his back out, is worth losing a best friend over. So we went home and ate a whole box of glazed donuts instead. This one time in Miami, Dorothy was feeling so exhausted and sick, but all the fancy doctors kept telling her it was just in her head, which made her madder than a wet hen at a Fox convention. I felt so terrible for her because back in St. Olaf, when someone gets a mysterious ailment, we just wrap them in a warm flannel blanket and feed them plum soup until they feel better or stop complaining. Blanche and Sophia tried to cheer her up, but Dorothy was determined to find an answer. Finally, she found a wonderful specialist who listened to her and proved she wasn't crazy at all. We celebrated her victory with a giant plate of lasagna, and Dorothy gave her old doctor a piece of her mind that I'm sure he's still looking for. This one time in Miami, we entered a big contest to write a song about Miami, hoping to win a huge cash prize so we could fix the roof before the rainy season started. Blanche and Dorothy wrote a very sophisticated tune, but I insisted on adding a little St. Olaf flair, which mostly involved lyrics about sunshine and pickled herring. We practiced so much that Sophia threatened to stick her head in the oven even if she heard the chorus one more time. When we got to the auditorium, the competition was fierce. There was even a youth group that did a rap dance. We didn't win the grand prize, but we did get an honorable mention and enough laughs to make us forget about the leak over the dining room table. This one time in Miami, my beloved Uncle Joe passed away and left me his most prized possession in his will, which turned out to be a championship racing hen named Count Bessie. Dorothy was fit to be tied because she said a chicken didn't belong in a house with a beige rug, and Sophia kept looking at Bessie like she was a bucket of extra crispy dinner. I tried to explain that Bessie was very sensitive. She could actually predict the weather by the way she fluffed her feathers, just like my great-aunt Inga's bunions. We had to find her a nice farm to live in, but before she left, Bessie pecked Stan right on the nose, which made Dorothy so happy. She actually let the chicken sit on the good sofa for an hour. This one time in Miami, the girls and I got a little short on cash, so we took a job working the night shift at a local drive-through fast food restaurant called the Burger Queen. It was complete chaos. Blanche kept trying to flirt with the truck drivers through the microphone, and Sophia was changing the prices because she thought 50 cents for a fry was highway robbery. I accidentally dropped my favorite sweater right into the honey mustard vat, which Dorothy said improved the flavor, though I thought it tasted a bit like wool. We only lasted one night before the manager told us we were a liability to the fast food industry, but we did get to bring home 3 bags of leftover onion rings. This one time in Miami, Blanche's son, Big Daddy, passed away, and she was so devastated she decided to sell the house and move back to Georgia. Dorothy and I were so heartbroken, we started packing our suitcases, and I accidentally packed 3 of Sophia's best hairnets, which caused a minor international incident in the hallway. It felt just like the time the St. Olaf Town Hall sank into the swamp, and we all thought we'd have to become citizens of Sweden. Thankfully, at the very last second, Blanche realized that her true home wasn't a place on a map, but right here with her best friends. So we unpacked our bags and celebrated by eating an entire cheesecake straight out of the pan. This one time in Miami, Dorothy started taking an adult education class and fell head over heels for her teacher, who happened to be married. Blanche was absolutely thrilled by the scandal because she loves anything that reminds her of a daytime soap opera. But I was worried Dorothy's conscience would catch up with her and give her a localized brain fizz. I told her about my cousin Stan, who once dated a woman who was technically engaged to a blacksmith, and the whole thing ended with a very messy pie throwing contest. Dorothy realized she couldn't be the other woman, so she broke it off like a dry piece of lefse, proving she has more class than a room full of dukes.